This is the Pal Talk News Network.
The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes, on YouTube, on Blip TV, and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not, no retribution. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I welcome you to the show. I got to tell you that when I wrote about this on Easter Sunday, and the reason I did on Easter Sunday is because there were comments made from the Vatican on that day in defense of the Pope that I responded to, basically. It caused for there to be a thread on my Facebook site of, I think it's up to like 55 or 60 comments today arguing this issue. And I said, well, if there's this much interest in it, then we definitely have to take it to the show. That is the fact that on Saturday, the Associated Press broke a story that showed that there is more evidence that has emerged that the Pope Benedict helped shield pedophiles before he became Pope. Basically, just to encapsulate this, and not to get into any of the horrific details of it, there were 2 priests in Arizona who were recognized by the church there as being candidates for being defrocked because of their pedophilia. And a bishop wrote to then Cardinal Ratzinger, who headed an office in the Vatican that had been established to look at these allegations of abuse against children on the part of priests, so that the Vatican would have one office that would look at these issues and decide who ought to be removed. And in one case, there was no response at all. In another case, it was years before the Vatican, under then Cardinal Ratzinger, now Pope Benedict, responded. Years, like a decade. Now, a church tribunal was formed, and between the church tribunal and the bishop, these 2 priests, Michael Teta, T-E-T-A, and Robert Trupia, were condemned by leaders of the church in Arizona to the Vatican in the strongest of terms, pleading with Cardinal Ratzinger to remove these individuals from the priesthood. Bishop Manuel Moreno, M-O-R-E-N-O, referred to Trupia as, quote, a major risk factor to the children, adolescents, and adults that he may have had contact with. In the case of Father Teta, the church tribunal found that he had molested children as far back as the 1970s and determined, this is quoting the church tribunal, there is almost a satanic quality in his mode of acting toward young men and boys. They were particularly, the members of the tribunal, upset that he had allegedly abused boys in the confessional, which they found to be more serious because it defiles the sacrament of penance in the Roman Catholic Church. It took 12 years in the case of Teta for Ratzinger, who assumed control of the case, to remove him from the ministry. Under church canon, only the Vatican can remove a priest. This is after it was documented that he molested 2 boys, ages 7 and 9, in the confessional as they prepared for their first communion. And in the case of Trupia, this is what Bishop Moreno wrote to Ratzinger. We have proofs of civil crimes against people who were under his priestly care. And it warned that Trupia, quote, could be the source of greater scandal in the future. Now, when I wrote about this yesterday, there were those who called in their responses for the resignation of Pope Benedict. It has happened before. According to my research, 7 to 12 times in the past, the distant past, popes have given up their throne and have stepped down. They don't know exactly how many times because the church records on this particular action are sketchy. So scholars have researched this and have come up with a figure of 7 to 12 times. I don't care, frankly, whether it's never been done before. Now, there are those who have suggested that the criticism is anti-Catholic or the criticism is anti-Pope. In fact, the Pope's parish priest, the Vatican parish priest, said that those who are critical of the Church and of the Pope for not taking action when he was in a position to take action are no different than anti-Semites who attack Jews. So the Church is getting extremely defensive about this. The question I ask, what if it were a secular institution that we were criticizing? Would then that be okay? Because you know that just last week we talked about a school district in Massachusetts that was aware that a child was being bullied and took no action, and then the child committed suicide. And nobody said you're anti-school for criticizing the school district. But a lot of people think that it is anti-Catholic to criticize the Vatican. Frankly, I think it's anti-Catholic for the Vatican to cover this up. It is the responsibility of the institution to take action. Clearly a bishop, that's an insider, not an outsider, who is trying to attack the Church, has raised that issue. And clearly the tribunal, which are insiders, not outsiders trying to attack the Church, have raised the issue. Let's hear what you have to say about all of this. My first caller is Wayne.